And welcome back to the Hotline. We are doing the Qatar Grand Prix preview. We'll have a quick look at that track and the many turns on that track itself. What time does the Grand Prix start? We'll be having a look at that and a bit of news, including the future of Sergio Perez. Yeah, that seems to be an exclamation mark pretty much over the last half a season. Let's go. So, first of all, apologies it's so late. Really, real life, as in work, gets in the way. And it very much did this time. But I digress. So let's look at the two top constructors. Yeah, 608 points. In one side is McLaren Mercedes. In the other is Scuderia Ferrari on a 584. Both have 5 wins. Both have 19 podiums. But it's McLaren that have the 7 pole positions, and Ferrari that have the 4 pole positions. We have Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri versus Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. There's 2 rounds to go, but that includes 3 qualifying sessions, 3 races, one of them being a sprint. Qualifying session, of course, and 2 main races. In Qatar, we got the sprint, we've got the main race, and we've got the main race in Abu Dhabi. Will it go all the way to the wire? Well, if McLaren get a 1-2 and have a really good result, that's pretty much game over for Ferrari. The pressure is on Ferrari in a way to score exponentially more points than McLaren. But will they? That's the big question. Well, they look good at Las Vegas, but it was the Mercedes team that ended up doing that 1-2 and kind of scuppering potentially Ferrari's last chance at well, some say at getting that constructors. I still think they've got a chance. So if you want to, this is going to be essentially the UK times. Practice is tomorrow or today, depending what time you're listening to this, 1:30 to 2:30. Sprint qualifying 5:30 in the evening, late afternoon, early evening. Then the next day, sprint 2 till 3. And then we've got qualifying 6 till 7. And the race starting at 4 o'clock UK time. It's going to be interesting, isn't it? Very much so. So, Sergio Perez, as we know, today is also media day. Sergio Perez did have something to say. And before we get into the actual race proper, I just wanted to share it with you. I thought it was quite interesting. This is from Sky's David Croft asking him a question. David Croft asking Sergio Perez a question about his future.
Echo, but what you're saying here today makes me feel that in your mind, the stats are misleading because of what you have or haven't been able to do with the car. Are you saying that there's absolutely no question that you shouldn't be driving next season?
So what he's saying is Sergio Perez has suggested already that the stats are misleading and he should be driving next year. And he has every confidence, as does his father, that he's going to be driving next year.
And that you have a contract and you should be with Red Bull, and they should look beyond the stats, as it were, and maybe at the data a bit more.
I think, I mean, at the end of the day, the team has all the information. There is so much I can say here. At the end of the day, the team has all the information.
I mean, that's the thing. The interesting thing is, at the end of the day, the team have all the information. What exactly does that mean? I mean, he's saying that with an air of confidence, saying they've got all the information, they know how fast I am. So, does that mean he has arguably had the worst luck in the world? Possible. Does that mean they know how fast he is, and he just doesn't have the same car as Max Verstappen? Possible too. He surely doesn't mean they have all the information and they know how slow I am, because he wouldn't be saying that then, surely.
There's a reason why we extended my contract during the year, and
there is a reason why. A lot of people have suggested it is the moolah, the money, is why he extended his contract. I mean, let's be fair. On face value, as the viewer of Formula One sees it, it's most certainly not his ability to get round a track fast at the moment, is it?
At the end of the day, the team has, everything, and we exactly know where we are.
So he says he knows where we are. That's also interesting. He knows where we are. Once again, indicating kind of like an air of confidence in relation to, I know where I am.
In terms of performance, in terms of issues, difficulties that we've had, we are a team and we know exactly internally where everything stands. So we're working really hard as a team to come through and get back into a much better season than the one that we just had.
If Christian Horner decides...
So when he says a much better season than the one we just had, he's obviously saying, yeah, he's pretty much fairly confident he's going to be here next year. Not if you believe Helmut Marko, of course, who has strongly suggested, let's say, that Sergio Perez is going to be there next year. Is most certainly is arguably not going to be the case, particularly when you've got a Liam Lawson, a Yuki Tsunoda in the wings, Franco Colapinto in the wings. But with Franco Colapinto, it would appear that opinions have cooled somewhat on Franco Colapinto simply because his whoops-a-daisy crash in Brazil. Okay, it was wet, but then again in Las Vegas as well, the one time you didn't want to do anything. So it's going to be really interesting these next two races for Colapinto, where he comes out, and that's going to maybe have a massive effect on what happens with Sergio Perez.
You're not the driver he wants for the senior team next year. Does your contract say you could drive for RB, or is it the Red Bull team or nothing, and will you be holding the team to that contract?
So he's asking, are you going to be holding the team to the contract, or does that contract mean you could go in the sister team, the Racing Bulls RB, V-Carb, whatever you want to call it? That's what Crofty's asked. He's been quite brave, to be fair. I think it's quite an interesting question.
If that decision's made.
I don't speak. I've been 14 years in the sport, and I don't speak about my contracts publicly.
No one speaks about their contracts publicly, I guess. But you just sound a bit defensive.
So I will not comment on that. I know exactly where I am, and I will not speak about it publicly.
Okay, so he's not going to speak about it publicly. Fair enough. I mean, you can't. Okay, fair enough there. But that's pretty much Sergio Perez, which I thought was quite interesting. So let's get into our race preview then, shall we? So here we go. Let's have a look at the track, which is most certainly going to be next. I will just momentarily disappear as we go around Qatar. We're now coming into, as you can probably see, the last few corners. You really are going to want to get this right. Yes, there is more than one overtaking opportunity, but the main one, let's be fair, is going to be where the DRS zone is, and it's essentially down that very long straight that we are coming into now. You can see us. We are the McLaren, the orange triangle, coming into the last corner, hitting it, and I tell you what, I nearly lost it there, but hooning it down the straight. You want to give it plenty. You want to give it DRS. You want to give it ERS. It's quite wide. It's quite good. And what's good about this is, as we now break into that first corner, there is most certainly more than one line. You can defend, because the next corner is, a lot of people are going to be on the inside of that next corner. We have seen so many people go side by side here. And now I want to say it is mainly one at a time, because as you can see, it is quite twist and turny. Now, despite the fact that yes, you do see a lot of turns on that track map at the bottom left, it is quite the fast circuit. There are a lot of fast turns. That one, which you can probably overtake here, but now we're starting to get into what is quite a few fast turns, with one significant-ish braking point kind of coming up. But it really is a left-right roller coaster. This is the last big breaking point, if you can call it that, before we get to the end of the lap. And as you can see here, this is like a multiple apex, which is flat in the game, pretty much flat, I think, in real life, apart from possibly this last corner there, that bit, which you just want to lift off for a bit, and you want to brush the brakes here as well, as we're now coming up to that final corner and that all-important DRS straight again. So brake, not too much. You want to hit that power as early as you can. Don't try and spin like we did. No. And then very much carry it along. So the stats for the Qatar Grand Prix. Let's have a look at the stats, shall we? It hasn't, to be fair, the Qatar Grand Prix hasn't been around. It first joined the calendar in that 2021 season. It's kind of like a replacement for other circuits. But it officially hosted for the second time, and officially joined Formula One without any funny rules in 2023. So we've had 3 races there. The track is 5.419 kilometers. The race length is 308.6, but we have 57 laps, 6 16 turns. The circuit opened the same year Bahrain did, and I think China did in 2004, and it serves as it's very much known as a MotoGP track. As I mentioned, 2021 was the first time we visited. It's held, 2 races there, 21, 23. And the track record for Lewis Hamilton is a 120.8. The lap record is by Max Verstappen is 123.1. That was both done in 2021. So it didn't appear on the calendar for 2022. The reason why was because of the World Cup. But then it came back in 2023. So really, no team's recorded yet a 1-2 finish. McLaren are the only team to finish with both cars on the podium at the circuit, and they did so last year in 2023. Does that then bode well for this year? The largest win margin to date was Lewis Hamilton by 24.7 seconds. Smallest win margin is 4.8, and that's the win margin that Verstappen won in 2023. And he's also the only driver to get 2 podium finishes at the Qatar Grand Prix. So not too many stats there, if I'm honest, about the Qatar Grand Prix. But then again, I mean, you can't blame anyone, can you? Simply because, hello again, simply because it hasn't been around that long. So let's then get into the drivers then. And let's just kind of start from the back, but let's start with the Haas team. So Magnussen, once again, really good end to the season. Kevin Magnussen, yeah, I'm not even going to change it with 2 races to go. But solid end to the season. And so is this man. He's got a really good end to the season as well. Has Nico Hülkenberg. Once again, I think they can very much score points here. As for Mr. Zhao Guanyu, I don't think he will score points here. I always said I had it, but it needs to be a crazy race. Bottas didn't do too bad a race last time out. And a lot of people are suggesting what is going to happen to Bottas. There are rumours that he's going to join Max at Red Bull, but then he came out and said, no, not many people like me at Red Bull. Could he join Mercedes? That's the big rumour, is he's going to join Mercedes. That's the big rumour. Is it going to happen? I'm not too sure. So I think the pressure is now very much on Liam Lawson, with Yuki Tsunoda doing so well. He even came out and said, I've destroyed all the teammates. A lot of people questioning why he's not in the Red Bull. So I think these are 2 very big weekends for all 3 other than Verstappen Red Bull drivers. First of all, Lawson, massive weekend, and a big weekend for Tsunoda. He needs the momentum to continue to beat Lawson if he's got any hope of going into that Red Bull team. What have they got to lose? And Liam Lawson, I think, needs to have the best 2 weekends of his career, and he potentially could get into that Red Bull team. I do think albeit he's only got a contract to the end of the year, I can't see anyone taking Lawson or Tsunoda's place, so I think they're fairly safe at RB, but we'll see. We'll see. So Alexander Albon, I was listening to the race podcast and I thought they mentioned something quite interesting. In both for Alexander Albon and Franco and this guy here, Franco Colapinto. Simply because the pressure is on both of them. Pressure is on Franco because he now realises he could have a drive for next year. He's making mistakes. Alex Albon, the pressure is on him, so they suggested on the podcast, and I completely agree. Simply because the pressure is now on Albon because Franco is so fast. Yes, he does crash, but he's a very fast guy. And this is when we've suddenly seen Alex Albon out of his comfort zone after a few nice years at Williams and start to make mistakes. So I think that's potentially very telling, but at the very least, very interesting. Next up, we have got Esteban Ocon, and I mean, to be fair, they didn't. The Alpine didn't have an amazing race, did they? Last time out in particular. I mean, I felt really sorry for Pierre Gasly, who I think probably could have gotten the points. He qualified up there in 3rd, but then very quickly hit that reverse gear. But still amazing to get into 3rd. And I'm hoping, if the circuit suits him, maybe outside point. But I think the biggest people having the biggest amount of pain is Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso. What on earth has happened to Aston Martin? I mean, goodness knows where they're going to be. If they can get inside the top 10, one of them can. I think that will be a massive achievement at the moment, at the rate they're going at the moment. But on to Piastri. Yes, this is the anniversary almost of his first ever win, albeit a sprint win and a win before Lando Norris. He could do well. I mean, he beat Max, didn't he? Max could not catch him, despite the all-conquering Red Bull. You know, the RB19 and Lando Norris. Surely, after there's every potential and I'll probably say the same about Mercedes. That Lando Norris could have won last year. He bottled it. He didn't get pole. Could he win this race? I think if McLaren, if that trend continues, they were very fast in 2023. They could potentially win. I think Ferrari could be the biggest struggles here, but a lot of it depends, and I'll get into Mercedes about temperature. We'll talk about that in a second. So Charles Leclerc, though, is very much, yes, they have made friends on Thursday in the press conference, but he's very much wanting to get revenge on Carlos Sainz after the teammate debacle. Yes, they're friends. Don't believe them a second. They're both really going to want to beat each other over the next 2 races. So we go into George Russell, the man that won Las Vegas. Yeah. And then we've also got the man, arguably the fastest man in Las Vegas, but did not win. What's going to be interesting about the two Mercedes, I think, last year, once again, they did hit each other at the start of the race. They could have potentially won the race. We don't know. Now, do we? I mean, it's all conjecture. Now, as we know, it's kind of like a night race. It's cool. It's cold. But there's a lot of energy going through the circuit compared to, I think, Las Vegas. So it's going to be really interesting to see how good that Mercedes is. If it is a cold temperature, I think that's going to really help Mo. But it really depends on how cold it is, doesn't it? We've already spoken, about Sergio Perez. He needs an amazing weekend to save his season. He needs to win a lap back for Verstappen, I think, to save his season. And no pressure on this guy. So he's under no pressure. Let's see how good he is. Could he win? Absolutely, you could. You can never rule out Max Verstappen in the Red Bull, which I think is a better car than a lot of people give it credit for. But there we go. So, as we come to a conclusion then for our Qatar Grand Prix preview, who have you got to win? I think Mercedes could be strong there, depending on the temperature. I've got a funny feeling that it's going to be close. I think McLaren have got a very good chance as well. And if Red Bull get the setup right, once again, Max Verstappen is going to be there, isn't he? I can't help but feel that Ferrari potentially have the biggest question mark. Only because they said Las Vegas is there. They think that they'll go well at Las Vegas. Probably not Qatar, but then they'll probably go okay at Abu Dhabi. So Ferrari may be on the back foot as we go in there. But hey, it's F1 2024. Absolutely anything can change. If you liked what you see, please give us a subscribe. That would be absolutely amazing. If you made it to the end, you are an F1 world champion in our eyes. If you made it to the end, comment below, give us a like. You are multiple world champion in our eyes. Take care, and we'll speak to you soon.